about international education in Australia. Then I'll go briefly on the pros and cons of studying in Australia, because it won't be fair to say everything is fantastic. There are things that you need to know so you can get your mind prepared about the cons of studying in Australia. And then I'll talk about general sources of funding, scholarships that are currently available at specific universities, and how it works if you want to work with OT. Then I'm going to take a few questions from the audience, and then we'll close for the day. I am hoping that by 15 minutes after 3 p.m. at the most, we should have rounded up the program. So this is the flag of Australia, and when you explore tourism in Australia, the slogan at the bottom of the screen is what you usually come across. Is from the Ministry of Tourism in Australia. There's nothing like Australia. Australia is a very beautiful nation. For those who know, for those who don't know, it's an island nation and has very beautiful landscapes. And so it's a place for vacation, a place to visit if you can afford it. It's a nice place to study, and it's a nice place to live as well. The standard of living is awesome, so it's a nice country. And this is the location of Australia in comparison with the rest of the world. If you care about that, Australia is down here to the right and bottom of the screen. So it's like across the world to North America, that's where you have Canada. So at the other end of the world, you have Canada, and the other end, you have Australia. And in between, Central and South America, Africa, Europe, and Asia. So it's a bit down there. And this is Australia, as you can see there, that's the shape of the country. You can see the western region, the northern, southern, and the eastern region of the nation. So Tasmania is it's an island, the southern part of Australia, but it's usually taken together as just a place in Australia. So together with Papua New Guinea, it goes on to be what we know as the Australian continent. So because I still remember that in elementary school, I was taught that Australia is a continent, but it's also a nation. We'll talk about that in a bit. So we'll be talking about Australia and international education in Australia. So like I said, Australia is both a country and a continent. It's an island continent. It's supposed to be an island, but because it's much bigger than the standard places that we refer to as island, it's considered a continent. So some people refer to it as an island continent because it's totally surrounded by. It's the world's smallest and lowest lying continent, as I've shown you earlier, and it's the only continent that is governed by a single nation state. The continent consists of mainland Australia, as we know, what we usually refer to as Australia. Then the other islands around it, and Tasmania, makes up the continent. So this is Australia map at the top there with the time zones. So there are 5 different time zones in Australia. What that means, because for many of us from maybe other parts of the world, what you know is a nation. Of course, everyone in the nation will usually be on the same time zone. So it's the same time in the country for many of us, but it's not so in so many other countries. So in Australia, you have all these different time zones. This should have been like 7, but because the difference seems not to be so much, and some of the places are so close and so closely knitted, so it's considered just 1. As you can see here, the 9 plus 9.5 and plus 10.5 there is grouped together as a single time zone, and the plus 10 and plus 11 down here, it's considered a single time zone. So what that means for you is depending on where you are. This plus that you see here is on the UTC time. So you can consider that added to wherever you are on the time zone on the globe. So there are 5 time zones. It's a country and a continent, like I've mentioned. And then the continental size is about 7.6 or 7.7 million square kilometers. The local language is English, and there are more than 70 additional indigenous languages that are spoken by the indigenous people of Australia. The official language, however, is English, so education is conducted in English. Okay, so studying in Australia, why you should study in Australia? The education there is quite high quality. So there's high quality education. So if you're looking for high quality education, that's the place, or that's one of the places. There is comprehensive options in subjects and programs from, let me say, agricultural science to medical, medicine, surgery, anything you can imagine, you can study in. I mean, you can find a place to study that in Australia. And then the universities are highly ranked. They have several universities among the top 100 in the world. So if you care about university ranking to choose where to study, this is a good place for you. Student satisfaction is very high, and employability rate is also very high. So what that means is, if you study in Australia, your chances of getting a job gets higher. It's number 5 study abroad destinations. That means it's so very, very popular among international students. It's number 5. And it's number 3 among the English-speaking nations of the world. So after you take the US and the UK, then you have Australia as the next one. I think Canada goes after that. So those are factors that you may want to consider making a decision whether you want to study in Australia or not. To study in Australia, you need to understand that there are 2 intakes. Semester 1 runs from March to June, and semester 2 from July to October. The application period, I would say, for international students, because of visa issues, you should allow a minimum of 6 months before you resume, so that you can have enough time to process your visa application. Because sometimes things that we don't foresee do come up. It could be personal, it could be based on your school, it could be based on your country, and you need to factor that in. So give enough time for you to be able to get your visa processed and approved before, because if you're supposed to resume in March and by February you are still struggling to get a visa, then you might not be able to meet up with the timing. So that's something very important that you want to consider. And what this means for us here is, if you are targeting the next semester for July 2022, it means that it's already late. So you should be thinking about the next enough time to apply. So application is on now if you have any intention of going to Australia. Okay, so what's unique about studying in Australia, about the Australia higher education system? What's the unique thing you need to know? Bachelor degree is required to enter into certain professions in Australia. They are called regulated professions, and these regulated professions include medicine, law, the academics, engineering, and I think, teaching. So the meaning of that for us is, if you intend to live in Australia, which I usually understand that it's now a dream for many international students or potential international students, if you want to practice any of this in Australia, or if you want to go to Australia to study any of these, you will be expected to have your bachelor's degree first. Because in many countries, it's possible for you to apply directly to study any one of these programs. But in Australia, you have to get a bachelor's degree first, then you can apply to go into any of these programs. So if, for example, you want to study medicine, you could apply and do a bachelor's degree in biology, in microbiology, in botany, something related in nursing, in physiology, biochemistry. So those are things you can do that. And then you can, after that, you can now use your result to apply for, to study in any one of these fields. And for many, although many people can apply directly to institutions in Australia for anyone, or if you want to study, usually for a number of African countries, you have to apply through an approved agent. You cannot apply directly. So Australian schools don't accept applications directly from students for some countries. So you need to find out whether your country is included or not. Okay. International higher education in Australia puts emphasis on student experience and graduate outcomes. So when you study, you'll be given the opportunity to practice. You'll be given the opportunity to explore the industry. So industrial training is a huge part of studying in Australia, and it's not just for students studying in the technical field or engineering field. It's for everyone. So they put emphasis on student experience and graduate outcomes. And then some of the best student cities in the world are in Australia. You can check online for the list. There are 41 universities and over 2.5 million international alumni out there in the world. You may want to become one of them. Universities in Australia have produced 16 Nobel laureates, and that's very, very commendable. Because out of the less than 1,000 Nobel laureates in the world, 947 of them, Australian universities have produced 16. So that tells you the quality of education is something that is enviable, and it's very important. So it's a good thing to study there if you have the opportunity. Then let's talk about the pros and cons of studying in Australia. So I'll start with the pros. The internship opportunity, like I've mentioned, opportunity for part-time employment while you're studying. And apart from that, there is more than 300 million per year in scholarship reserved specifically for international students. Some of them are specific for where you're from. For example, if you're from Asia or Asia Pacific region, there are some scholarships that only you can apply for. There are some other scholarships that if you are from other parts of the world, or you are just an international student, you can apply for them. That's over 300 million every year. You may be one to benefit from that. Cost of studying is a bit lower compared with studying in the UK or the USA. So that's another advantage you may want to think about. And then you have better job opportunities in multiple disciplines when you study in Australia. What that implies for us, for international students, is that certain fields of study, certain professions are restricted or are not too much in demand in some other countries. For example, in the US, if you are in the IT field, that's your place. US is always having room for IT professionals. If you are a medical person or you want to go into the medical field, UK has a lot of opportunities for people in the medical field. So that restriction is there. What it means is that your opportunities are limited if you are in the IT industry and you go to the UK, or you are in the medical field and maybe you go to some other countries. But in Australia, there is room for everyone. So it's more comprehensive than what you have in some of those other countries. You can study and work as an international student. You can work for 40 hours every other week or up to 38 hours per week during long breaks. So during school breaks, you're still in the country, you didn't travel home, you can work for up to 38 hours per week. And then immigration opportunity is one fantastic thing that is also there that everyone would want to explore. You can immigrate to Australia, you can become Australian, and they society is quite culturally diverse because there are people from everywhere, people from every region of the world who are already Australian. So they have migrants from about 150 countries. So what that means for you as an international student is you're not going to feel out of place because you see people like you. People are from everywhere. The country is relatively safe. Crime rate is low because there is strict gun control laws. So somebody can't just look at you and feel like, yeah, I don't like your face, and then shoot you. There is gun control laws, so the society is a bit safe. And then, okay, so we go on to the cons now. Living expenses is a little high. Student income is also taxable. So if you work as a student, your income, you have to pay tax on it. In some other countries, you don't have to pay tax on student income, but in Australia, you have to pay tax on your income. Because you're going to be far from home, you may feel lonely, you may feel homesick, you may long for the food from your home and not find it. It may be too expensive for you to find. Culture shock or culture differences are things that some people may have to deal with and may maybe not feel comfortable about it. So these are all factors that you may need to consider if you want to go study abroad in the first place and then in Australia. Language issues could be an issue for some people. Maybe you speak, people can't understand you because of your accent, or when they speak, for example, your professors are speaking and you can't understand what they're saying because of their accent. So these are issues that you should consider. Communication styles, of course, differ across cultures. Things that are correct in your country may not be correct over there. So those are all basic things that it's good to take to heart. There are fewer scholarships compared with Canada or the UK. So your opportunities for getting scholarships may be a little lower if you go to Australia compared to going to the UK or Canada. There are a number of international education pathways that you can explore. Intensive English language courses is open to every student that is coming from nations where English is not the first language or the official language. You can explore foundation programs, the diploma program, A-level programs. You can also go for short courses that after that you can use to bridge to degree programs. You can also explore Australia matriculation programs. Outside Australia, this is also possible. You can go for Australia matriculation programs. It's usually a year program, and after that, you acquire some credits that can give you a place in an Australian university in the first year. And then you can also use the bridging programs. All options that you can explore. This is some tuition ideas for international students that you may want to maybe explore to help you plan. English programs, depending on the length, can be up to $15,000. And when I say dollars, I mean Australian dollars, yeah. Vocational education and training programs goes between $4,000 and $22,000. Bachelor's degree between $20,000 and $45,000. And for postgraduate diploma certificate and master's program, it's around 22 to 50, and for PhDs between 18 and 42, depending on the university, depending on the region, depending on, yeah, I think those are the main things that will affect that. And for conversion purposes, I've put the value there. An Australian dollar is equal to 0.71 US dollars. So you can just multiply that to give you an idea of what that amount is in US dollars or in your local currency. There is a double star there on the bachelor's degree, and the notes down at the bottom of the screen, you see the medical courses like medicine and even nursing and veterinary medicine courses are priced differently. So that value you're seeing there does not apply to medicine. It does not apply to nursing. It does not apply to vet medicine.
Yeah.
Okay, So there are other costs apart from paying tuition. There are other costs that you're going to also have to plan for. Rent, between 90 to 350, feeding and grocery, 90 to 350 again. Communication and internet between 10 and 50, transportation between 10 to 50. There's a note down there. Living cost cannot be fixed. It depends on you. It depends. Take, for example, someone decides to accommodate you and feed you. What it means is you're not going to be paying anything, right? So living costs are determined mainly by your choice of lifestyle. You can choose to live in a hotel throughout your stay. You can choose to live on campus. You can choose to share accommodation with other students. You can even choose to share a bed with another student. So it all depends on you and what you are willing to spend. So your choice of lifestyle determines this a lot, but this can give you an idea of what's the lowest you can begin to think of and the highest, or something in the neighborhood of reasonable that you can consider. So there are a number of funding sources that you can take advantage of: scholarships, studentships, and grants, and I'm going to go through them. So many of these opportunities are currently open. So if you want to explore them, you can feel very free to go through them. Merit scholarships are usually institution-based, they're performance-based, they vary in value and requirements. Most of them are usually automatically applied when you are given an offer. Not many of them don't require you applying separately. So when you apply for admission, many of these are applied to your offer directly. But there are a few that you may need to make direct applications for. So this is one very popular scholarship in Australia. The Government Research Training Program, or RTP, is for students who want to study for PhD and Masters by research. So you have to be a research student, Master or PhD, to apply for this opportunity. It's available only at participating institutions. If you check online, you're going to see the list of participating institutions, so you can apply directly to those institutions, because they are the ones who will apply, who will now offer this scholarship to you. Partnership with a potential supervisor is a basic thing that you need to know. So you need to get a supervisor for you to be able to apply for this. And you can also access this after entry. So if you are having issues getting a supervisor, for example, one way you can go about this is apply for admission, go on over there. When you start your program, that means you're going to have to pay at least for your first semester by yourself. So when you get over there, you are already in the system. You can walk up to maybe the office of whoever, whichever professor is in charge. You can talk to them. You can talk to the faculty. You can talk to the International Student Center, and this will become a lot easier. But if you can't afford to go by yourself and then do that, that means you need to apply before you go over there, and for that you need to find a supervisor. So, and this is another scholarship, that's Destination Australia program, ODA. It's part of the Australian government plan for Australian future population. So this particular scholarship is designed to encourage people to relocate to Australia. So if that's your dream, this may be a good one for you if you qualify. It's for students who choose to study in regional Australia. That means out of the main cities, you choose to study in the regions. So there are a number of schools in regional Australia. When you study in them, you are able to apply for this scholarship. There are more than 1,000 of them listed through some certain providers. So these providers are listed on the on the website of Australian Education Ministry. So you can check there and see which organizations are providing this. The value is 15,000 Australian dollar per student per year. So that means throughout your study every year, you can get $15,000. And that can help you to offset a lot of your tuition. Merit scholarship for female researchers. You have to be a citizen or PR of any of the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation countries for you to access this. So you must be female, you must be a researcher, and you must be citizen or PR of an APAC country. It gives you funding for up to 4 months of research in Australia, and that's the worth you can see there, about 3,000 to 4,500 for travel, 2,000 for you to get established. Then you get monthly stipend of 3,000 Australian dollars, and you also get a family allowance of 1,200 if you have family. So what that means is if you are a family person and you apply and you get this, 4,200 Australian dollars is paid to you every month for you to take care of yourself. I think that looks fantastic. So there are also funding that are offered in specific institutions. Specific universities have their own opportunities as well. So this is CDU, that's Charles Darwin University. That's at the northern region of Australia. It's the Vice Chancellor's International High Achievers Scholarship. You have to be doing a coursework, so that means it does not apply to those who are studying research. You must be doing a coursework program. You can be an undergraduate or postgraduate student, but you must be a new student. So it has to be applied for before you go in. And your score, overall score, must be up to 95%. That means you must be an A student to be able to access this. And the value is 25 or 50% of your tuition per year for the duration of your program. So if your program is 2 years, if it's 5 years, for every year, you're going to get 25% or 50% off, depending on what is offered to you. And then you must be ready to commence your study in semester 2 of 2022, and you cannot hold an additional scholarship with this. Application period is until July 1st, 2022. So it's open now. Scholarship is open now, and if you are qualified, if you are an A+ student, feel very free to send in an application. If you are finished your bachelor's program and you are, let's say, or you have your master's and your CGPA is above 3.8 out of 4, I think you should qualify. So you should consider applying for that. Griffith University has an international postgraduate research scholarship, and you have to be studying at Griffith University for you to access this. You must be a postgraduate research student, master's or PhD. The value is that's almost $29,000 every year, and it covers your living allowance. So what that means for you is about 2,000 plus every month for you to take care of yourself. And master's degrees, you can take it for 2 years. For a PhD student, you can take it for 3 years. Application period up until July 2022. It comes out every year anyway, so if you miss it this year, you can plan for it against next year. There will be conditions that you have to meet, like research, maybe publication, or research understanding, or research content in your master's program. So if your master's program has enough research content, you will be able to apply for this for your PhD. If not, you may need to publish in some journals for you to be able to access this. Australian National University Scholarship is also for masters and PhD candidates. You can take it at Australian National University. The value is also almost 29,000 Australian dollars per year, but there are additional allowances that goes with this. The coverage is the tuition plus some living expenses as stipend, and you can take it for 3 years. Application period is between 1st of November to 31 October. So you can also explore that. University of Sydney has some international scholarship, and you have to be studying at University of Sydney to access that. You must be a postgraduate research student, and it's worth about 35,629 Australian dollars per year to cover your tuition, fees, and living expenses. You can have it for 3 years, and application deadline for this year is 30th of September. So you still have enough time to be able to come up with a research proposal that you can put in and find a supervisor. Global Excellence Scholarship, you have to study in University of Western Australia to access that. The requirement is that you must have an equivalent of 88 to 98 or more in your Australian tertiary admission rank. And then, or in the weighted average mark, you must score at between 70 to 85 or more. Or if you are going into the articulation program, you have to score more than 75 for you to be able to access this scholarship. The value is 48,000 Australian dollars for undergraduates and 24,000 for postgraduate students. The duration is 2 years for postgraduate and 4 years or more for undergraduate students. Application is open until 31st of December 2022. So if you are qualified or if you are interested, you can just explore online. Just do a search, a Google search for Global Excellence Scholarship requirement or application. You see the link and it's going to provide all the detailed information that you need to know to be able to apply for that. So there are a number of regional incentives in Australia that are meant to encourage you to study in regional Australia. So if you hold a temporary graduate visa of Australia, that is after your program, then you can, or you graduated from a regional education institution and you have lived in regional Australia during the first time you were holding this visa, which also includes your student visa, then you are eligible to take a second TG. But you must remain in the region area for the duration of your new visa. And after you have successfully fulfilled that, I think you are free to apply for your PR. And then additional opportunities that are also available, social support, medical support, family visa, and your spouse can work. In some countries, your spouse can't work. In some countries, you can't work. In Australia, you can work, your spouse can work. So if you go with your family, what it means is that both of you can work and take care of the family. And I didn't put this on the slides because it's, let me just say, it's an information that will be useful to a number of people. If you give birth in Australia, your child gets social support, even if you are a student. So maybe you may want to get pregnant and go have your baby there. So medical support also goes, and for family visa, you have to produce or provide, when you are making your application, you have to provide proof that you have enough funding to take care of your family. Now, how this works is that you're actually expected to have nothing less than 10,000 Australian dollars in your bank account to show when you are applying for this visa. So if you're able to demonstrate that, then you will be able to apply for the family visa and your family can move over to join you. And when that happens, what it means is both of you can now work and you can both earn. One of you is going to be studying, of course, but both of you can earn, and that can help to take care of the family. So this, I think that's something that you need to know. And so that's the information I have for what's on studying in Australia. I just want to maybe just make a review of how it works if you were to be working with arrows for your admission. It's simple, and this is the procedure. Visit Arrow's website and the social media pages. Review the country pages. I'm going to show that in a moment. Review the country pages. Review the requirements under. So the country pages are available under the Study Abroad tab. When you are on the page, you can do that right away. On the page there, you see all the countries, or some of the countries, maybe not all of them are there yet. Some of the countries that arrows cover, you see them there. So you can go on the page and read about each of the countries And then you can review requirements for your application on the Admission Services tab. There is an application form there. Complete the form, upload all the required documents, and then you can get in touch with the office on WhatsApp. I am not encouraging getting in touch with the office right away before you review this, because all the questions that have been answered on the pages, you will end up having to be asking the office. And time is precious, so please review the content there. Many of your questions will be answered on the country pages, and after that, you can just scroll down on the page. You will see the Q&A section. Many other questions are there that are already answered for you. After that, if you have you have considered all of that, then just go ahead and fill the form. When you fill the form, it helps you to realize what documents are outstanding for you to get. For example, we've had cases of people getting in touch and say, oh, I want to go to the US, I want to go to the UK. Okay, send your credentials and your passport, and then they'll tell you, oh, I don't have an international passport. You are not going anywhere if you don't have an international passport. So that's the first document you need to get. So I'll say, by the time you review the requirements and you try to fill the form, you'll see the list of all the documents that you need to make your application. So if you don't have them, the best thing will be to go and find a way of getting them. Then you can now get in touch with the office after filling the form. Then you're going to pay the university application fee. This cannot be waived by ARROS because this is not paid to ARROS. This is paid directly to the universities. So even if you pay through ARROS, ARROS cannot do anything about it or with it than paying it to the university. So you can always check on the university page on their website for how much you need to pay for your application fee. And then you can send that, and ARROS will make the application for you. And then after that, it's just for you to wait and see what maybe you'll be gathering information or documentation that you're going to need for your visa application. And then the third and final step will be you receive your offer letter, pay your visa fees, and if it is applicable, you pay your tuition deposit. And after that, apply for your visa and you're on your way to go and study. This is ARROS website. Here, the moment you put your cursor on study abroad, you see all the countries. You can click on the country that you desire to study in, and then you go there and review the information there. Now, when you come here to admission services, that's where you find the list of all the documents that you need to provide for you to be able to apply to study abroad. You can see them on the right-hand side here. International passport info page, your certificates of academic qualifications, your professional certificates if you have, official transcripts. That is a must. You need to get your official transcripts for your final application. It's possible for you to start your application with student copies, but you need to apply for an official one from your institution. You need a digital passport photograph, usually white background, no design, nothing. Then you need a comprehensive CV. And when I say comprehensive, don't leave any information out. It's better to provide too much information than too little. If you are going to be studying for research, you need to provide your a research proposal. And if you have been working for some time, you may need to provide a proof of work experience, especially if you are switching fields. If you have been in maybe in the arts field or in the sciences before, and you want to switch to IT, for example, you need to show proof that your work experience in IT is the reason why you're switching. Or if your CGPA is low, sometimes if you have many years of experience in a particular field, the CGPA restriction may be waived for you. So that's why you need to provide proof of work experience. And then, let me see what else you have there. So there are many options that you can explore, actually. So the best thing will be try to get as many of these documents as possible, especially your certificate, your international passport, your official transcript or copies of your student's copy of transcript, a digital passport photo, your CV. These are very important if you are doing a thought program. If you want to do a research program, you need your research proposal. That cannot be compromised. So these are just what you're going to need to apply for your visa.